Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of our I Don't Work Here Lady, where people get mistaken for being workers by some real oblivious people. So I hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe for more and let's get right into it, guys. Security guards with squirt guns. Christmas 1994. Location Lake Forest, California. I spent Christmas at my girlfriend's apartment along with her mother and 19-year-old brother. We'll call him Dave, who I was nominally friends with. We did our gift exchange about 6 p.m., then had dinner. About 10 p.m., my girlfriend revealed she had an additional gift for me and her brother. Super Soakers. The big, bright, neon orange, yellow, and green ones. Well, big for the times, as at the time, Super Soakers had only been out for a couple of years and were still pretty cool. It was a gag gift, of course, and we decided to have fun. It was warm enough outside that I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and of course, I was barefoot. I don't recall how Dave was dressed. So where does the I don't work here lady part come in? Hang tight, I'll get there. Dave and I filled up our Super Soakers and headed out to the parking lot with no particular plan. Turns out that stray cats don't like getting blasted with the stream of water. Who knew? Very quickly, we ran out of water and were walking back to the apartment, when a woman who had driven past us at least twice stopped next to me and rolled down the window. She was a rather rotund woman in her mid to late 30s, driving a beat-up early 80s Oldsmobile. She looked at me and asked, in a dead serious and almost desperate tone of voice, "Are you a security guard?" Given that I was just a couple years out of the Marine Corps, I think some training kicked in because rather than being the sarcastic bastard I usually am, I answered in the most polite, professional voice I could and said, "No ma'am, I'm not. Security guards don't carry squirt guns." She looked at me for a moment. My answer apparently did not register in her brain and she proceeded to say, "Somebody parked in my carport and the rest of the lot is full. What am I supposed to do?" Maybe I felt bad enough for her for being helplessly stupid and that overwrote the sarcasm. I don't know, but I said, "There's nothing I can do and this complex doesn't have security anyway." She drove off satisfied. As soon as she drove off, Dave lost it. Not only was he completely dumbfounded by her question, he couldn't believe that I answered her with a straight face. I thought I was going to have to help him get home. He was nearly hyperventilating. When we made it back to the apartment, he told my girlfriend about the whole thing, but it took him at least 5 minutes to explain the 30-second encounter because he was having a hard time controlling his laughter. Now I realize this story isn't about some angry Karen that asks for a manager, but come on, security guard, shorts, barefoot, neon squirt guns? No lady, I don't work here. Doctor mistakes family member for a nurse in the hospital. This is the grand story of my birth. In spring of 1993, my mother did not plan things well, myself included. When I decided I wanted to be born, she drove herself to the hospital and found they were out of beds in the maternal ward. So she was admitted into a room with a bed as comfortable as a gurney in the ER. I bet the room was just as cold. In comes my aunt as practically my mother's midwife. My aunt has a tendency to take charge and wanted to help. The nurses had her dress in a cap, mask, gloves, and a disposable hazmat suit. My mother's labor was fast going. So fast, I don't think she could get an epidural or much else for pain. The resident doctor there gave the nurses orders to get this, get that, etc. to prepare for delivery. He then started giving my aunt orders, of whom gave him a look every time he did so. Meanwhile, my mom was starting to push. After about the third time the doctor gave my aunt an order, she got confused and asked him why she was giving her orders with authorization and terminology only nurses had and understood. He explained, also confused why she asked, that it was her job. The nurses stopped, having overheard this back and forth, and one intervened. Why wasn't this nurse getting into cabinets and fetching medication? The real nurse told him, "Doctor, that's the aunt." I mean, in her defense, she looked the part. The doctor was a little embarrassed and apologetic, but they all had a good laugh. They didn't have any time to think more on it as I was seconds from being born. At 3:15 a.m. I arrived, and she actually did have to partially catch me because the incompetent doctor thought my mom had more time. My aunt was the first to hold me in the end, and I hope my mom got a much more comfortable bed after the ordeal. Edit. Holy crap, I had no idea this would be so relatable. So many visitors mistaken for hospital staff. Much love. How I Don't Work Here Lady almost turned scary for an off-duty police officer. This story came from my friend's husband, Adam. And yes, this is Belle's husband. Belle's my retired Army officer friend. which some of you might already be familiar with Bell if you've seen some of our recent videos. Adam worked as a police officer from the late 90s to early 10s until being injured in the line of duty. One December evening, Adam was finishing up his shift when Belle, who he was dating at the time, called him, asking if he could pick up a couple of last-minute things for a Christmas party. Since the Mart of Walls is about a mile away from the station, Adam decides to go there. He's wearing a thick dark blue coat over his uniform, complete with vest, belt, and gear, including his sidearm, radio, handcuffs, and baton. He's in the dairy section getting some ice cream when he heard a woman say in a low voice, "Excuse me." Adam turns to look. There's a young woman, maybe college age, dressed in jeans, a thick coat, and heavily pregnant. Definitely not the Karen type. "Can you please help me get a TV from the back?" Adam is about to use the classic "I don't work here lady" line when he sees the fear in her eyes. Now on high alert, he leans closer to her and whispers, "What happened?" "I'm scared of my husband. He just shot the officer who pulled us over." Adam looks up and sees this strung-out looking man, who looks like he hasn't showered in days and watching them with, as Adam recounted, shark eyes. Thinking fast, Adam says loud enough for the man to hear, "I'm more than happy to help you, ma'am. Let me page the back and we'll get it in a minute. Hang tight." Using his cell phone, which wasn't as common as it is now, he texted a fellow officer who was still on duty, asking her if an officer got shot. When she confirmed it and asked what was going on, he told her what was going on, to alert the manager and to send a couple of units to the store. She responded to him that the units were on the way, the manager had been alerted, and to hang tight. Once he received her text, he said, "It's on its way to the front. I'll personally escort you there so the manager knows who it belongs to." So he leads the family to the front and makes eye contact with the manager. The manager, who recognizes Adam from previous excursions, comes over. Adam, keeping up the charade, says to the manager, "Boss, I think it'd be good to get the lady off her feet for a little bit while we get the car loaded," he said with a meaningful look. "It's going to take several minutes anyway." The manager nods and says, "Of course, come with me, ma'am. My office is just this way." Once the lady and the manager were safely away, Adam and the man head out to the parking lot. Just then, Adam spots the officers getting out of their cars and nods at them. The takedown wasn't as dramatic as you'd expect it to be. They recognized him and arrested him as soon as several outstanding warrants for his arrest were revealed. The officer the man had attacked survived his injuries, and the man got a nice long prison sentence for several charges, including attempted murder. The lady filed for divorce, and with Adam and Belle's help, was able to get home to her family. Last Adam heard, she was doing well. When she heard the story, Belle, as she put it to me, quote, "knew I met the man I was going to marry someday." Entitled Karen vs. Ex-Navy Aviation Pilot. Mom and I were sharing I Don't Work Here stories, and she shared how she met my stepdad. I knew they met at an airport, but I didn't get the full details, until now. Several years ago, Mom was a brand new flight attendant, her dream job. She was heading to her gate excited for her first ever flight as an attendant, when she gets stopped by her villain, Karen. The conversation went roughly as follows. "Excuse me. How may I help you? I need you to upgrade us to first class." "Oh, I'm sorry, but you'll need to talk to the gate agent. I'm a flight attendant." Mom could understand Karen's confusion because gate agents and flight attendants wear the same uniform. However, they're completely different departments. A gate agent can't do what a flight attendant can do, and vice versa. "I don't care. You're going to upgrade me to first class." Poking my mom in the chest. "Right now." Enter our hero. Stepdad, who just so happened to be the captain of Mom's flight, was getting some coffee at a nearby shop and he overhears Karen's entitled rant. He comes up. "What seems to be the problem, ma'am?" "Finally! I'm Karen and I need to be put on first class on flight 123. "That's my flight. I'll speak to the gate agent after you apologize to my flight attendant for your entitled behavior, or I'll have you kicked off my flight." Now, most people would agree to do this, but as you can probably guess, Karen isn't one of them. Instead, Karen then does the stupidest thing you can imagine. She tries to punch Stepdad in the face. What Karen and Mom didn't know is that Stepdad is a Navy veteran who used to train fighter pilots and is in good shape. The next thing Mom knows, Stepdad has twisted Karen around, had her arms pinned behind her back, and calling for security. The flight ends up being late because Mom and Stepdad were giving statements and agreeing to press charges, Karen ended up getting pressed with assault charges and getting banned from the airline. That evening, once everyone finishes up, stepdad comes up to mom. Again, the conversation went like this. Stepdad says, "Hey, I wanted to apologize for that. I heard you're brand new, and I hope that didn't scare you off from your job." And mom says, "Nah, I have 2 kids. It takes more than that to scare me. Still, I want to make it up to you. Are you free this evening? I know a really great restaurant in town." "I'd love to," said mom. A few years later, they got married. And here's more of an I do work here situation. This is my job, you fool. I just discovered this sub, and I have to share one of the dumbest experiences I had working as a security guard during COVID. I was assigned to Sam's Club right at the peak of everything, and it was as bad as you'd expect. Basically, I had stepped off my post to use the restroom, and as I was leaving, this dude came in with a ton of clothes, walking right by me in an obvious security uniform and a huge sign that says, "No merchandise beyond this point." So with this being my job, I naturally said, "Sir, you cannot bring merchandise in the restroom." This dude seriously turns back to me and says, "Why don't you go get a job and stop harassing me?" I then point to my badge and the security logo on my jacket and reply, "This literally is my job." He continues arguing, claiming he needs a dressing room and all that. The store never had them to begin with, but especially during COVID would not allow you to try things on. The entitlement was unreal. Anyway, simple story, but it has always struck me with how absurdly stupid it is to tell a security guard to get a job in response to being called out for trying to take merchandise into a bathroom stall. What do you think security is for, bro? That's all for today, everyone. Thank you for watching. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. So take care. I'll see you next time.